As we get set to spring forward with daylight savings time, while we appreciate the extra hour of sunlight, it really doesn't help with our sleep. In fact, statistics show that most Americans aren't getting enough sleep anyway. So here to help us develop better sleep habits is Dr. Michael Bruce, otherwise known as the Sleep Doctor. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning.
We are excited to talk with you, and we say good morning. It's really only a good morning sometimes if you have enough sleep. So what are some of the keys to begin here?
Well, one of the things that we need to think about is consistency. Going to bed at the same time, but most importantly, waking up at the same time turns out to be critical for your overall sleep quality. So I'm telling people, even on the weekends, which I know isn't the best thing in the world to have to do, getting up at your weekday time is actually going to be very effective. Looking at things like caffeine and alcohol can also be important. I'm not saying you can't have a cup of coffee or two, but you want to stop drinking caffeine by about 2 p.m. Caffeine can stay in your system, at least half of it, for about 8 hours, so we don't want that affecting your ability to fall asleep at night. Alcohol, I don't have a problem if you want to have a glass of wine, maybe even 2 with dinner, but you want to give yourself about 2 or 3 hours before lights out so your body can metabolize through that alcohol, because alcohol can keep you out of the deeper stages of sleep. Of course, getting good sunlight every morning. People think, sunlight, how can that affect my sleep? Sunlight resets your circadian clock, and that can be a very important factor. So when you wake up in the morning, getting 5 or 10 minutes of great sunlight can actually be incredibly helpful. And of course, what about your sleep environment? You know, I believe that sleep is a performance activity, and if you've got the right equipment for sleep, you're going to be better off. And so looking at things like your lighting at night, how much sound is in the room, and even more importantly is your sleep surface, so mattress, pillow, sheets. It turns out those are incredibly important. I've partnered with Princess Cruises, and we've developed an amazing new mattress that's available for people out there, as well as on our ships for people to be able to check out and get a great night's sleep.
Okay, so I love that you gave some specific times there and some great tips. What are your thoughts on naps?
So naps turn out to be a great supplement if you haven't been able to get a good night's rest. If you only got 4 to 5 hours, taking a 25-minute power nap can actually be very effective. But there's a caveat here. If you're not a good sleeper or you have insomnia, do not nap. There's data to show that if you're napping in the afternoon and you have insomnia, it can actually make your insomnia worse. So power napping for folks who just don't get enough sleep is great, but if you don't get enough sleep because you have insomnia, you really want to stay away from napping.
When do you know insomnia is a problem? I mean, I have the problem where I feel like I'm tired, and then when I go to lay down, my brain just won't turn off. What are some tips there, or is that insomnia?
Well, no, so that's an interesting situation. I call it being wired and tired, right, where your body is physically so exhausted, but your brain doesn't want to turn off. That actually has a lot to do with the consistency of your bedtime and your wake-up time. Knowing when your body is ready to go to sleep is actually going to be critical in those types of situations. Oftentimes, in those situations, my patients are getting into bed too early. That sounds kind of crazy coming from a sleep doctor. I'm telling people to go to bed later, but the truth is, it's all about consistency. So going to bed consistently at a particular time, even if you didn't get good sleep the night before, is probably your best idea.
And how do you shut the brain off, though? Any tips on how to fall asleep? Since I've got you here, I've got to ask.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we do is we do distraction techniques at night. One of my favorites is counting backwards from 300 by threes. Try that for a second. That's not an easy mathematical thing to do, and it's so complicated you can't think of anything else, and it's so doggone boring, you're out like a light.
I was going to say, I'm trying to do that as you say that. I'm getting more frustrated that I'm not being able to do the math that quick. Anyways, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it and appreciate your tips.
No, thank you. And if people want to learn more, check out princessluxurybed.com.